Hey, I'm Matt. Today I want to show you 5 tools you didn't know you needed until now. If you haven't seen the other videos in this series, I'll link those at the end of this video so you can go check them out because there's a bunch of tools you didn't know you needed. Number 1 on the list is the Kreg Track Saw. This thing is fantastic. You should have one of these in your shop if you break down sheet goods. It's almost a must-have. Let me show you. When you see this, you think circular saw. Most people do, but it's different because it runs on this track. This track is super secure. It's not going to move off of that track unless you move it off of that track. It has to actually be picked up off of there. It's called a plunge saw or a track saw. The reason is it plunges down. You would want to turn it on, have the blade spinning before you plunge, and then you'll make your cut. Well, you'll notice right here it has a riving knife, very similar to your table saw, and that's going to prevent that wood behind it starts pinching that blade and causing binding up. That causes kickback, so this helps prevent kickback. This also has an anti-kickback feature. You look here on the bottom, right there, there is a little switch on the top that activates the anti-kickback. What does that do? That prevents the saw from moving backward. I have to really pull to make this thing come back. If I turn that off, it slides easily back and forth. It also has an anti-splinter guard right here that keeps the plywood and things you're cutting really smooth and keeps just a good smooth cut and keeps those things from fraying and breaking off like you see a lot of cuts. Another great feature is you can actually just set the depth of the plunge, a positive stop here. So it's even got a marking for 3/4 inch plywood because that's a common thing that you're going to be cutting with a track saw. You set that on 3/4 inch and it's going to plunge just enough to cut through 3/4 inch plywood. You can also make bevel cuts from 0 to 45. Actually, you can go to 47. There's a switch here that overrides and you can go over to 47, and you can also go the other way, override and go to -1. Now, why would you want to do that? I don't know about your house, but in my house, nothing is square. It was never built square. So a lot of times when you start building into corners and things, they're not actually square. They may be 46 or 47 degrees. So having this be able to cut at a bevel of 47 or -1 helps you allow for those imperfections. This knob here actually adjusts the tightness on the track. So if it's loose, you'll see that it has a little bit of play in there. If you tighten this down, then the play goes away. It's tight on the track. You're not have to worry about that causing any imperfections in your cut. It did a really, really good job. It's a super clean cut. Just an excellent cut. The only thing I really don't like is I don't have more track. I would like to have another piece of track so I can be able to cut 8 foot instead of the 60 something inches. But other than that, that's really the only downside I have so far. I am impressed. I have never used a track saw before. I didn't realize how fast this Kreg Track Saw would be to set up, how fast it is to make the cuts. I broke down this sheet of MDF in a matter of minutes. I like the fact that I can just set this track on there. It's not gonna move. I just lined it up to my marks. I'm moving it off for the first time, and there is minimal dust under here. There's a little, but not much at all. And what's really impressive is I cut 3 cuts coming across here, and then this final piece is 9 7/8 by 9 7/8. Exactly. That's impressive. If you'd like to see a full review of this track saw, comment below, let me know about that. I'll also be looking for maybe a giveaway on this one in the future. I'd like to thank Kreg for sending this out to let me check out for this video. Next up are these little jewels right here. So there's a channel on YouTube called Shop Nation. I've been watching him for a long time. He makes awesome content. He also has an Etsy store that he sells a lot of stuff that he 3D prints, and this is one of them. These are battery hangers made for organizing your cordless tool batteries. He has them for Makita, DeWalt, Milwaukee, Rigid. Several lines of tools he has these hangers for. If you're interested in checking out Shop Nation's Etsy store, I'll drop that in the link in the description below. We're not partnered or anything like that. I just thought it was a cool tool and wanted to feature it on the channel. How cool is that? Perfect fit, not too tight, not too loose. They slip right on there. Perfect way to store my batteries now and get them off the shelf. What's really great about these, they attach very easily. I use 1-inch pocket hole screws on mine. You can use whatever you want. They'll also attach vertically like you saw me do on my workbench, or horizontally if you want to mount them under cabinets or if you have a charging station, something like that. Go check out our online store where we have easy to follow build plans to help you make awesome projects. Also be sure to check out Outlaw's Board Butter, help you condition, restore, and protect your cutting boards, wood utensils, and charcuterie boards. Board butter's so good, it should be outlawed. One of the coolest features of a dust extractor like the DeWalt or this Festool is the vacuum automatically comes on when you turn your sander on. But if you don't have one of these, what do? So what if you only have a shop vac? This is what you need. Very inexpensive. This is a timer. And what I like and the why I picked this one is it has a low shutoff time. The DeWalt, when I sand and I turn that off, it's 10 seconds, 7 to 10 seconds before it actually shuts off. That doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it's annoying. When the wife walks in and she wants to ask me a question and I turn the sander off and the shop vac is still singing for 7 or 8 seconds, she gets tired and goes back in, and I don't know that it's supper time. I missed it because she got tired of waiting. This is really easy to set up, super simple. Let me show you. The OT switch is actually a startup time delay. So in other words, when you turn your tool on, how long is it going to delay before it turns on your vac or your light or whatever you've got connected to it? You can go from 0.1 to 3. We're gonna leave it at 0.1 because I want it to basically be instant. The CT button is the shut off. So how long do you want the tool or the vac running until it goes off? So we're gonna do 1. So having that set at 0.1, it's almost instant that this comes on. This is the Festool connected to the Festool dust extractor. This is the DeWalt connected through the switch to the rigid. Ready? It's a tie. They actually come on about the same time. They went off about the same time. Like they were so close I couldn't tell the difference, so that's pretty cool. That's probably one of the handiest things as far as power tools go in the shop is to have something automatically come on when you turn something else on, like your saws or your jointers or your sander especially. If you don't have a dust extractor that automatically comes on, I highly recommend one of these. This is the Polini pocket rule for woodpeckers. As far as woodpeckers tools go, this is very inexpensive and it's extremely handy to have in the shop. I did actually talk about this as a bonus on one other video, but I didn't go into a whole lot of detail about it. This thing has a lot of features stuffed into a little package. If you wear a shop apron, this thing was made for the shop apron because it goes right there, it's in the pocket, it's a pocket rule, that's what it's for. One thing I really like about the Polini pocket rule is on the top you see the 1/16 inch increments. On the bottom it's 1/32. The increments are the same on each side. So 1/16, 1/16, 1/32, 1/32. This also has a slide rule on it that slides down. This is also aluminum, which I do like, and then it tightens down whatever measurement you want. This also doubles as a T-bevel. So if you're using this as a T-bevel, you can actually, there's a notch right there in the end that you can use to set the pencil lead in so that it doesn't move out of there. And it's just super simple. On this end rule, it's 1/16. If you flip it over, it's 1/32 over here. The little slide comes off and actually doubles as a stand so that you can use the end scale for router bits, table saw blades, etc. One thing I really appreciate about Woodpeckers tools is their accuracy. Another little cool tidbit of information is this is exactly 1 inch wide by 1/8 inch thick. So you could actually use the 1 inch to mark a 1 inch line or just set things up. Last but certainly not least, a sanding accessory that's very inexpensive but extremely useful, especially to keep you from damaging corners and edges when you're sanding. This is a sanding pad. It's foam. It squishes down so that when you're sanding that edge, it actually collapses and doesn't let the sandpaper dig in and cause damage. This is probably one of the least expensive on the list, but I slaved it for last because I really like it. It's really good. This is a Festool brand. Don't worry about the name on this one. There's other brands out there. I'll link those in the description. They're equally as good. The way this works is if the hook and loop sticks to your sander, then the sandpaper actually sticks to the sanding pad. As you can see that it actually compresses down on that corner. Will it damage the corner? Of course, if you're sitting there holding it on there or if you're not moving, it will still sand that corner or that edge. But if this was a round over and you didn't want to make it look ununiform, because a lot of times when you're sanding a round over, even if you think you're moving fast enough and you're doing this, that doesn't work. You'll wind up with some imperfections, especially when you start putting finish on. So this actually prevents you from hurting it too much and doing damage unless you just hold it in one spot. If I don't want to round that over and I want to take away that sharp edge like this right here, I was able to just sand that. All you're doing is moving the sander and it'll automatically do it because this sanding pad is compressing around that corner. If you watched my recent charcuterie board build video, you saw me use this pad in there, and it was because I had rounded those over with an 1/8 inch round over and I wanted those to stay uniform. This is perfect for that. It's inexpensive and they just work. If you like this video, you'll love volume 1 of the 5 tools you didn't know you needed. Click that box to get the big old virtual fist bump. Also volume 2 of that series right there. Both are excellent videos you should go watch because there's 10 tools you didn't know you needed until you watch it.